Hello, Sierra Vandervort. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Sam. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So I'm going to pull a card for us. This one's from the Energy Center. I should actually look at the real title. It's called The Magic of Crystals, a product of storm wisdom.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm pulling it thinking of anyone listening or me or you, any messages that might need to be heard or talked about. And then just pulling one at random. Way like this. The crystal is the septarian nodule, and the affirmation is playful, and it's
Ooh.
for the solar plexus. It reminds us that life is about the journey and not the destination. It helps us access the energies of playfulness and fun while stimulating your awareness of intuitive senses. And its properties are clarity, balance, and intuition.
I love that. That's such a good one.
Oh, does playfulness resonate with you at all right now?
Yeah, it does. I'm traditionally a very kind of work hard, go getter kind of person. So sometimes I need to be reminded to be playful and have more fun. And it's funny that our card was the solar plexus, as we were talking about just before we started. That I showered this morning and I was feeling good, so I put on some red lipstick and some nice clothes. That's very like solar plexus energy, I feel like.
Well, I love that. I know this one's always so helpful for me. I'm like you. I tend to be like, go, 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 push, 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 like see what all I can do. And we're both entrepreneurs, so maybe that makes sense. But yeah, playfulness doesn't come as naturally to me as I would hope it does in the future.
Hmm. Yeah, so it was a good card for you too then. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know, so beautiful. Yeah, but I'm so excited to be talking to you. Can you give us a little synopsis of what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Sierra. I'm sort of a freelance creator in lots of different senses. I'm a writer, I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a community leader, and I really focus on using spirituality and mindfulness as a way to help women feel more confident and connect with one
Mm.
another and build a powerful community that they can utilize in their, self-development and personal growth and things like that. I travel a lot. I'm based out of Portland, Oregon now, but for the past year before that, I was doing van life with my partner and our two dogs. And I used to lead yoga retreats in Costa Rica a lot. And I lived in London and Paris for a while. So I've kind of used that, go getter energy that we were talking about to kind of throw myself into any opportunity that came my way. And I feel like that's helped me to kind of mature fairly early on, I guess, in my life. And now to be able to learn and grow in my position as a leader for other women and spiritual communities, I think that's been a really important part of that for me too. So yeah, I guess that's the gist of me. Also, I have a dog. She's back there sleeping in the bed, I think somewhere. I'm a dog mom. Um, yeah, and I love to dance. I love music. I love coffee. You know.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for telling us more about you than just what you do. I really appreciate that too.
Yeah, it's so important because like you said, we are entrepreneurs, but that's not, it's not all that I do. Some days it feels like that's all that I do. I'm really trying to not, to
Yeah.
bring time for open up space for more things in my life.
Yeah. Or even for me, less things in my life.
Yeah, you're right. That's a better way to say
Oh
that.
no. They're both great. um, and I think part of what you said really stuck out to me about maturing early. I know that I had to mature early as well. Um, and I think that's also where the playfulness gets lost too. Sometimes you
Yeah.
have to come back to what you didn't get to experience as much as you wanted.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I definitely resonate with that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Wow, so you do so much cool work. And also, the card is so perfect. Solar plexus is all about confidence. And I know you said that a lot of the work you do is about confidence with women. Um, can you tell us more about why that path stuck out to you?
Yeah. Well, for me, having a spiritual community, and it just happened to manifest as mainly women in my life. Doesn't mean that, women are more apt for spirituality or anything like that. But for me, I just realized that having a community of other women that were interested in the things that I was, and who were, kind of pushing themselves in the direction of growth, that was like the most beneficial thing for me on my journey, more than any other book that I read or class that I took. Just having a space that I could go to and talk with other women who were interested in witchy things or yoga or meditation, and just having that space made such a difference for me. I grew up in the Midwest in a fairly, not super duper progressive place spiritually. And then after I graduated from college, I moved to New Orleans, which was like totally the opposite end of the spectrum. A year in, after I had done my yoga teacher training, then I was leading full moon circles with my girlfriends in like this little coven that we had created out under these massive oak trees in the park. And it was just like a total blossoming opportunity for me to grow in my studies and connect with other women that felt the same way. So having that support was really crucial for me. And I feel like it always has been, this idea of kind of medicine women goes back eons, and having a community around that has always been something that, that we want in a primal nature. And I don't know, I feel like we kind of lose that a little bit, especially in, the modern digital age. And I don't know, I really want to prioritize that and give people a space to connect over, their struggles, and connect over their questions about, life, and connect over their ability to, move through things and come out stronger on the other side.
Oh, oh, that's beautiful. Hmm. Community is so important. I feel like that comes up in every single episode about how important community was to the guest journey, but then also how important it is in the people that you work with's journey. We can do things alone, but there's something so beautiful about finding people who can support you.
Yeah, it's way less pressure, and you can see things that maybe you hadn't have, that
Mm.
you can see things about yourself and your journey that maybe wouldn't be able to see on your own when you get that alternative perspective. And I don't remember where this fact is attributed to, but they found that when you look at what actually makes a person happy in their life, their relationships is like the number one thing that impacts their
Oh,
happiness on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, I mean, it's hardwired into us to want to connect with one another. And yeah, I think that that's so important.
mm. That's interesting about relationships making us the most happy. Because I feel like we think it's maybe money or success or like status. But the thing about that is maybe it does give us fleeting happiness, but we're always reaching for it because it's never enough. We could always have more of it. Um, so I like that it's actually relationships most of the time. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
because I mean, and that's like a common archetype, in movies and stuff. Actually, in just one I was watching last night, where someone has all the money, all the wealth, and the big house, but they're like alone in that big empty house, and then you
Yeah.
just still feel like sad for them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, and what is your community called?
Oh, well, my virtual community is called the Mystic Members Club, and it is virtual in the sense that we have women from all over the world now. We're, international, who come and, connect with each other, but we're starting to move into the physical realm now again too, now that we're able to after 2 years. So we're having our first in-person yoga retreat in the redwoods this year, which I'm super excited about. And I'm actually
Wow.
going back to New Orleans for a couple weeks at the end of March, and a lot of the women are based in New Orleans, so we're going to meet up there. So I'm really excited to get back to like being in person with one another again.
Yeah. Oh, congratulations. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So something that I noticed in your bio is that you help other people find their inner goddess. I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. So as I've developed my teaching modality, I suppose I've taught a lot about these natural cycles of energy in nature, and that's kind of like where my witchiness meets my mindfulness teaching. So at first we were talking about the phases of the moon, and we still teach that avidly. We actually just got done doing a whole moon magic journey in the members club this week. So we talk about the phases of the moon and then the cycles of the season as well with the wheel of the year, talking about the solstices and the equinoxes. And all of that works to also connect us more deeply with the changes of seasons or energies in our own bodies, especially as biological women. So a lot of what I teach is kind of opening yourself up to the power that feminine energy has, because I feel like it's so lost. And a lot of people are waking up to it more and more today, which I think is so great. But like we've already talked about, this is a time and has been a time where the masculine is traditionally the one that is, seen as good. It's been the one that's put up on the pedestal to be super active and goal oriented and progressive and just go and do. That's very masculine energy, and it's great.
Yeah.
You do still need that to do anything in life, but it's the feminine that is that soft, that open, that ease, that balance, and I feel like that's kind of the energy that we're missing so much in modern day and age. And
Yeah.
so bringing that energy, not just to women, but to everyone. But since it is mostly women that we have in our community, we're able to kind of look at that energy through a more personal lens, right? How we experience it in our own bodies, what our relationship is with our femininity, with our personal power, how that's changed, and kind of working to like honor and celebrate that energy and honor that divine feminine and sort of work to embody that in everything that we do, learning to embrace the cycles of our body instead of shame them, working to, work with the energies of our bodies and the moon and the seasons, and see that everything is kind of connected a little bit more than maybe we had thought.
That's so true. It's so exciting to be like going on that journey and then see how so many things are connected and being able to like, oh, this is like this is like this. And it's really cool to see how nature mimics our bodies and or how we mimic nature. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's magical. That's why I know that
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that a lot of words that I'll use that maybe older generations like scoff at, it's like magic and things like that. But I mean, there's so much that is magical about life, and why would you not want to
Hmm.
believe in that, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And actually, I was wondering if you could tell us more about the phases of the moon. I don't know if we've ever talked about that explicitly here.
Sure. Yeah, so there's four sort of cardinal phases of the moon: new, waxing, full, and waning. Most people kind of get their start with the full moon because it's obviously the most visible for one thing, but it's one that we're able to sort of feel energetically the strongest. But basically, as you move through the cycles, it's sort of an ebb and flow of energy. You start with the new moon, and it's the darkest outside because you can't see the moon, there's no light. So it's a very intuitive time. It's a good time for like setting new goals since you're at the beginning of the cycle. And then as the waxing moon grows, it's this progression of energy. It's sort of this, that's the time for the masculine like structure and to do and putting your intentions into action. And then with the full moon, it's this period of celebration and gratitude and presence, which I think is so important in this phase because most of the time we just go from, one to do to the next to do. And maybe we give ourselves time to relax, at the end, or more often than not, we just end up crashing and burning because we've done so much that then we don't
Yeah.
have an option, right? But the full moon is that time of celebration where you get to like stand at the precipice of everything that you've done over the past however long, like a week, 2 weeks, if we're talking about the traditional timeline of the moon, you get to stand at the top of that and just like soak it all in and look at what you've accomplished and be like, yeah, this is great. Like I feel so good about what I've done, or maybe I don't feel so good about it. And that's okay too. You just give yourself that time to like be present and grateful for whatever it is that you've done. And then after that, you go into the waning moon, which is a lot about releasing, starting to relax, starting to reflect on what worked and what didn't work. So it's a very, it can be a very tangible structure too. I'll teach this too in the frame of like goal setting. So you can bring it into sort of a more masculine sort of like thought process too. But it's just really all about honoring the ebbs and flows of energy. So that's usually where I'll recommend people to start. And then as they progress, then it's the same cycles, but we move it into tracking it along with your menstrual phase if you still experience one, because then it becomes that even just that much more personal, right? So you can notice how those same, and it's the same four cardinal energy cycles. They're just,
Yeah.
flowing through your own body. So yeah, like you said, it's so cool to watch how it progresses. And the same thing happens with the seasons, in spring, summer, fall, winter. It's the same four energy archetypes that happen. And you just kind of see how the cycle keeps moving and learning to tap into it rather than fight against it sometimes.
Yeah. And something I think is really cool that I've been learning a bit more about is that men or biological men have the same cycle, but it's in a day. And ours is
Mhm.
just more spread out over a month, which I think is so cool. I didn't know that until recently.
Yeah, isn't that so wild?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so cool. Um, Actually, I don't know if you can answer this, but I've always wondered this. Right now, at least, the new moon and my menstrual cycle or my menstrual phase are lined up.
Mhm.
But what would you tell people who like they're not lined up or they got out of alignment with those phases?
Yeah, so that's kind of why I recommend people start with learning the phases of the moon, just so you get a baseline knowledge of the phases. But then after that, I suggest moving into studying more your menstrual phase more in depth for that very reason, because if it's a full moon and everyone else, or you think the energy is like party, yay, woo, but you're menstruating, you're like, that's the last thing I freaking want to do. And like, I get it. So that's why I would prefer everyone to eventually get to that space where they, go along more with their personal cycle, but not all women experience a menstrual cycle and not everyone's regular in that way. So the moon is there for you if you do, if you are unable to connect with your own personal cycle for whatever reason, then the moon is always there for you because it's the same exact energy archetype. But if you do go along with your own personal phase, then that's obviously going to be the thing that's more personal to you, right? So if you do experience, say, yeah, we'll just go with that example where if you experience your menstrual phase during the full moon, you can still go out, and be social. Say you have like a big party or something to go to and you are on your cycle, you still can go out and you still can be social, but you're going to show up in a much different way than you would if you were ovulating at that time. And that's not a better or worse thing. When we're menstruating, we're so much more intuitive and naturally meditative and naturally calm, well, not always calm, but naturally more open in that way. So you're able to show up in those really high energy spaces just in a different way. And I think if you give yourself the permission to show up in that way, that's really where the transformation comes through. Because if you're still stuck in like fighting it or resisting it and say, oh my gosh, I just wish that this was not happening right now. I'm sure a lot of us when we were younger, we did that thing if we were on traditional birth control where you just like skip your sugar pills and go right to the next thing so you can just skip your cycle if you're going to the beach or whatever. So terrible. But I definitely did it when I was in high school, because we're taught to resist this period that is so special and so magical in so many ways. So yeah, it's just giving yourself permission to show up as you naturally are and learning to honor the beauty and the wisdom that comes with those phases that might not be as glamorous. And yeah, just giving yourself space for that, I think, is the most important part.
Mm, so beautiful. Yeah, I actually had always wondered that, but I feel like a little bias I had in my question was I felt like it had to be one or the other, or that one was better than the other. When
Mhm.
really you can hold space for it's the full moon, which is an energizing time, and I'm in my inner winter, which is not an energizing time for me. Like both
Yeah.
can be true. So I kind of caught that after I asked you that question.
Yeah, and you can find the balance between the two. Another thing, full moon doesn't always have to be like super energetic. Another big
Mm.
part or lesson that comes in the full moon is this idea of balance, right? Because when the moon is full, it's in the complete opposite zodiac sign as the sun, because it's, on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's fully illuminated. So a full moon is always a good time to look at balances and imbalances in our life. And
Mm.
the more you get into it, you can look at the astrological sign of the moon and the sun at that time, and those will kind of give you more specific energies to look at and the balance between those two. But if you are someone who experiences your inner winter during a full moon, then you can, you know, go more in that direction of looking at balances and imbalances in your life if you're not feeling the super energetic full moon circle party gratitude mode.
Yeah, I feel that sometimes. I feel resistance to party gratitude.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay. And that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know where my cycle is with the moon at this time, because this is another thing too. It might change. You know, you might be with a new moon now, but it'll probably change, because for me, I know my cycle is traditionally 31 days long and the full moon is about 28, 29. So there was a time when I was, you know, ovulating with the full moon and I was like, yeah, it's perfect. I'm feeling it. But then 6 months later, it's totally different, because those 2 days add up and you'll change and you'll shift all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually noticed that in myself that like as the new moon has is like further and further away, I'm like, oh, I better get my period soon. I should try and like force it, which has never worked, but it's like it can move. I need to give myself that like playfulness and flexibility that my cycle doesn't have to be on the same day every month.
Yeah, it'll change all the time and for so many different reasons, you know, stress, food, hormones, like there's any number of reasons why it could shift or be early or be late, you know, and just giving that fluidity, relaxing into that fluidity is the whole energy of that time, you know.
Yeah, so hard.
It is so hard. And we're not taught this
Mm.
traditionally, right? I feel like there was some sort of like womanly initiation that we all needed when we were younger that we never freaking got. And maybe that's what I'm trying to make with the members club. So because I feel like learning this stuff is so powerful and so empowering for us. So yeah.
I like that so much. Um, oh yeah, so I think maybe you answered this, but is your inner goddess connected to your inner seasons? Is that how you most find her?
Yeah, that's the way that I've experienced in that way, uh, that I've experienced finding her. There are other ways too. I know that physical movement is another really powerful one. Dancing, yoga, anything that is fluid in that way, even intimacy, you know, just finding ways to connect with your body and get more into your heart and less in your head, you know, because the masculine is mental and the feminine is more heart centered. So anything that is able to bring you into your heart. So even just like, you know, hiking, being outside, watching the sunset, cuddling your dog, you know, there's lots of different ways to do it. But tuning in and noticing the energetic shifts of your menstrual cycle is just kind of one way to do it.
That's cool. It's all about getting into the body for me recently. That's
Mm.
like, I've been up here for way too long and I am ready to get back in my body. And it's such a challenging slash fun slash interesting adventure to go back from your head to your body. Do you have any tips for that actually? Or would it be the ones you just listed?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think just any form of getting into your body is helpful. I feel like people think, or maybe we have this idea that it has to be a really structured thing, like going to a 60-minute yoga class or going to the gym in the morning, and it doesn't have to be that. You know, if you ever notice, I'll try and do this, and still struggle with it personally, but if you ever notice that you are too in your head or too, you know, kind of enclosed and restricted in that way, just taking a minute to notice that. And then you can even just, yeah, dance to one song, like go put on your favorite song and just like dance or jump around for like 3 minutes. You don't even have to, you know, dance in the traditional sense. You can just get up and like shake, you know, just anything to move into your body. It doesn't have to be a whole hour. It doesn't have to be anything structured. It could be going on a walk with your dog. It could be, you know, it could be any number of things. Just it's just noticing, right, where that blockage is sometimes. And if you are feeling really
Yeah.
constricted or spiraling or just stuck in your head, just being able to notice that and say, hey, okay, I'm choosing to flip the switch here. And I'm just going to take, even if it's 3 minutes, to just try to get even
Yeah.
just a little bit out of my head and into my body. I think that's the most important part.
That's playfulness right there too.
Yeah, anything playful, and that's another way too, you know,
Mm.
and it doesn't always have to be movement. If you really like coloring or painting or just doing something that is fun and playful to you, that's honoring the goddess as well.
Oh, I love that. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. No, I'm not. I have such allergies over here. So speaking of the Wheel of the Year, I know that we've just passed Beltane, I believe. Is that right?
Imbolc. February 1st was Imbolc.
Oh, by the time this comes out.
Oh, wink, wink. Yes.
We just did that.
Behind the scenes, you never know.
Yeah,
But
so could you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah. So this is kind of like the blossoming of springtime energy. Spring equinox. This is moving out of inner spring and into inner summer. Well, inner and outer. So yeah, it's just like the increasing of energy. Hopefully it's getting warmer wherever you are in the world, unless you're in the southern hemisphere, then it'll be inverted. But yeah, this is just moving into that energy of summer. So they are reflected in every way. So if you think about the energy of the full moon we were just talking about, that's the same energy as the summer. That's the same energy as your ovulation phase. So they're all kind of mirrored in each other. So just more activities, getting outside a lot. We usually travel a lot more in the summertime. Yeah, just having fun and celebrating being a part of your life rather than just, grinding and working through it all. Yeah, I don't know. I've always loved summer, and I feel like a lot of people do for, lots of obvious reasons. So just allowing yourself to get outside and play more is really great for this time of year.
Oh, I love that. I was actually just reading about the Beltane Fire Society. Maybe that's their acronym. But I've never gone to any kind of fire ritual. Have you?
Yeah, I went to one in New Orleans.
Mm.
Yeah, and they're so cool. We would have, drum circles and a big fire and, kind of a potluck, and we all just get together, and there are different rituals that you can do with a fire ceremony, and you can even do it, personally. You don't ever have to go out and do it in a group if you don't want to. There's lots of different
Mm.
rituals you can do, and yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to make it to something one of these days. But I have done a lot of like candle stuff and like burning any shit I can.
Yeah, burn all the shit. That's usually just when in doubt. So
Yeah.
I like for my Sabbath celebrations for the Wheel of the Year, I like to like decorate my house a lot. I like find the corresponding colors and flowers and just different sort of talismans, and I put around my house, and then I'll look for like traditional seasonal recipes that I'll make for me and my partner. And my partner's such a good sport. He's spiritually inclined, but he's not,
Mm.
like he doesn't identify as pagan or witchy in any way, but he indulges me in so many ways. So I'd like for in bulk in February, I made homemade bread and butter, and we ate it. And I was making a joke sort of as we were like eating our soup and bread and butter. And I was like, okay, it's like now you have to call on Brigitte and like tell her what you want to manifest for the year. And he did it. He was like, okay, he's like, tell me what to say. And he did it. And I was like, oh, thank you. But so we'll do like homey stuff, kind of like that a lot together. Especially since I'm sort of newer to the city where I'm at now. So I'm still finding
Nice.
my community here. But yeah, there's lots of stuff you can do at home too, for sure.
Oh, I love that he did it too. So sweet. Side note, I didn't know that's how you said her name. I thought it was Bridget.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's, lots of different ways too, and there's different even spellings, and there's lots of different
Interesting.
ways for it.
Oh, cool. That's good to know for next year.
Yeah.
Let's see what you said something. Oh, here we go. You said witchy a couple times, and I identify that way as well. And I was wondering if you could tell me what witch means to you, or what being a witch means to you.
Mm. Yeah. But to me, being a witch is just being sort of an empowered, spiritually inclined woman. And to me, identifying as a witch means being more connected to the energies of nature than maybe other traditional monotheistic religions emphasize. So that's kind of how I got started on my witchy journey, was, well, first through herbalism and then through the phases of the moon and the wheel of the year. So to me, it's always been about connection with nature and seeing nature as a reflection of, God, goddess, Gaia, whatever you want to call it. And bringing that into my own daily life and seeing myself and my existence as just one manifestation of this great divine energy that we have. So it, to me, it was really about bringing that power back into myself. I was raised in a traditionally Christian household, and I didn't regret it at all. I did feel very connected and loved by God that I was brought up around. But as I grew up, my understanding of it sort of shifted, and I realized that traditionally the power is really removed from yourself. In Christianity, Catholicism, you're sort of taught to fear this omnipotent being that is outside of you, and you're just constantly begging for forgiveness to be worthy enough for this, man in the sky to accept you. And that just
Yeah.
didn't, eventually, after a while, that just didn't really sit with me anymore. And I was always a person that loved outside and nature, and just the more that I felt connected to that, the more that I began to see sort of, outside as my temple, and just nature as my way of connecting with this divine source. And the more that I studied yoga and Eastern spirituality, the more that I realized that, whatever magic I was seeing in the full moon and the sunset was in me too. And I feel like that's sort of that's the basis of my definition of a witch, is being a woman person who identifies with this magic in nature and this magic of the universe, and feels that in themselves as well, and is empowered enough to use the study of that energy to make themselves a better person and hopefully make the world a better place.
Wow. Oh, I love what you said. What was that? The energy or the magic you saw in the full moon or the sunset within you as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that so much. Thank you. You're so right. Oh, you're so right about we're always taught to ask for forgiveness in our spirituality or in our religious practices. Maybe that's where my anxious attachment style came from.
Yeah, I mean, they don't, I mean, not to say that forgiveness is ever, a bad thing. That is, a big lesson in the heart chakra, to forgive yourself and forgive others. But yeah, it was just this idea that you were constantly seeking outside approval still, from God, from, you had to go to
Mm.
confession. You were constantly, you had to go to someone else, a priest, or to get that forgiveness. And I was like, no, I can just do it myself.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I don't need to say sorry all the time. Yeah, I love that. Um, you said part of, oh, I was going to say this too. I was recently reading Women Who Run with the Wolves. And when I say recently, I mean I've been reading it for the last year. And I
Yeah.
recently read part of it. And she defined witch as wise or wise woman, which I thought was really cool.
Mhm.
And I think that's the literal meaning too.
Yeah, yeah, I love that book. It's such a great book. But it does take kind of a while to get through. It's a little lofty, but yeah, she's really great. It's a great book.
Yeah, it definitely is lofty. I have to open it and close it and open it and close it. And part of what you said about being a witch was bringing that into your daily life. So I was wondering what your kind of typical daily spiritual practices were.
Yeah, well, it shifts for me a lot. A big soapbox that I've sort of found is my sort of slight hatred for routines, right? This idea that everyone's like, oh, you need a morning and nightly routine. And I guess I have a routine in the sense that, like, I wash my face every day and night. That's maybe like the one routine that I have. But I just felt so constricted by the idea of routines. And especially as women, like we've already talked about, we experience so many different energies throughout our cycle, that what you feel inclined to do, or maybe a goal you set for yourself while you're ovulating, probably you might not want to do when you're menstruating, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been more about ritual rather than routine. So I do try to incorporate at least some form of mindfulness to my morning. Now, sometimes that looks like seated meditation. Sometimes it looks like journaling. Sometimes it looks like, staying in bed and cuddling my dog, just, intentionally. So it always kind of takes a different form, but it's just giving myself space to like wake up slowly. That's something that's really important for me, and giving myself time to ease into the day. And from that, you know, I try to give myself a little bit of a ritual at the end of the workday, you know, cleaning up my desk space and giving myself you know, activities or to-dos for the next day, and just kind of letting myself close the workday energetically before I go into my evening with my partner and my dog. And even, you know, then my partner and I will go after he gets home from work. We'll usually take the dog on a walk, and that's when we like get to talk about our days and sort of de-stress together and come home and make dinner. So it's, for me, it's about just bringing ritual into my everyday life, in the sense of just bringing intention into everything as much as I can, everything that I do. And that's really all that kind of ritual is to me. You know, it can be very elaborate in the sense where you gather 3 white candles and anoint them with clove oil and do all of the things. It's super great. I love doing that also.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do that every single day. You know, it can just be bringing intention into the things you already do. It could just be giving yourself space in the morning before you dive into your work to take time for something that gives you more space, you know? So it's just, and allowing yourself to be fluid with it, I found, is the most important thing for me. Now, some people might really thrive with structure and rigidity in that way, so I don't want to shame that. But just, I've noticed that having a more open, fluid approach to it helps me to not feel like a failure if I don't do it one day, you know?
Yes. Yes. I love that so much. That's actually a lesson I feel like I've learned a couple times where I'll go, oh, I need a ritual, not a routine. And then somehow I get back into a routine. And then eventually I go, oh, yeah. And so I just had one of those, oh, yeah. And I felt like I was stressing myself out to have a calming, like in order to have a calming morning practice. I was experiencing so much stress and rigidity, which is like also playfulness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. I love the idea of just creating space, and then you can kind of fill that however feels good in the moment.
Right? Isn't that funny? It's like we're so like, we feel like we have to do our morning ritual, our like self-care practices so much that it stresses us out. We're like, I gotta go do my journaling and I don't have time. It's like, that's not how it's supposed to feel at all. So yeah, opening yourself up to the space of it. But I mean, and then knowing there's a balance with that too, right? So in yoga, one of the core principles that we're taught is tapas, or it's inner fire, or dedication, or devotion. So, and in yoga, that is something that they sort of idolize very strongly, is this idea of daily dedication. And there is a lot of power in that too. But I don't know, for me, I need fluidity, I need movement, I need every day to look different. And I think you can be dedicated to something and still give yourself fluidity around it, you know? So like I said, if doing something every single day works for you, then please do it. That is something that I guess I do still have, like I was saying, in my skincare. That was one of my goals for this year, was to take better care of my skin. So now I have, you know, my whole routine that I do in the morning and the night with my skin. But aside from that and brushing my teeth, I'm like, I need to do something different every day.
Yeah, well, your skin looks very good, so it's working.
Thank you. I also, I'm gifted with this big window right in front of my desk, so the lighting is fabulous.
Perfect. I was telling someone this before we started recording. They had a ring light, and I was like, oh, I just use a Google Doc and like hope that that's bright enough to illuminate me.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I mean, you work with what you got, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. The lazy podcaster's guide. That's funny. I love that so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover that we didn't get to?
No, we talked about a lot, and I feel really good about it. So yeah, I hope that, I mean, whoever listens finds something that they can take away from this. You know, if anything, I'd say just give yourself permission to make your life just a little bit more magical, you know, and it doesn't have to be a great grandiose thing. It can be, you know, setting a morning intention as you make your coffee in the morning, you know, just give yourself space to make your life more magical, because you have the ability to do it, and it can be so simple and create such a shift in your mindset in the day. And that's really been the most powerful thing for me and the women that I've noticed in my community, is just being able to work this sense of intention and magic into their everyday life.
I love that. Intention. That's all magic really is intention.
Yeah.
I love love it. Yeah, can you give our listeners a resource or a challenge to focus on for this next week?
Yeah, I think that's a good challenge. At least
Yeah.
do something every day this week that just feels magical to you, and it can be 2 minutes, it could be an hour, just something every day that brings a little bit more magic into your life.
Love it. And then can you please tell us about where we can find your membership? And then do you offer other services? Yeah, I'll just leave it open.
Yeah. So mostly you can find me on Instagram. I'm at the local mystic, and then the link in my bio is the membership. So I'll give a lot of free resources on Instagram, like meditations and just practices, self-care practices, and things like that. I have the membership, and then I actually have a book that is out now at the time of this release. But I'll just let you guys find that from my Instagram too. So yeah, I'm at the local mystic, or you can go to thelocalmystic.com, and then the membership and everything is on there. Also on YouTube, I have some free yoga and meditation classes on YouTube. I'm the local mystic everywhere.
Yes. And I have to say, the way you teach yoga online, I only did the free training that you did in January.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but it was unlike any other online yoga I've ever done. It felt really nourishing, and also I think we're all like screened out, zoomed out, YouTubed out, but it still felt like cozy and homey, and I didn't feel that like screen burnout from it. It was really, really good.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much. That's like the best thing that I ever could have heard, because yeah, I know we can only do so much with screens still. And I know that's the best way to reach people, especially, if I'm trying to talk to people from all over the world, which I am usually, but oh, that's so good. I'm so glad.
Yeah, you definitely have a gift. So everyone listening, you should definitely go check it out.
Thank you.
Yay, awesome. And talk about manifesting too, right? They always say you have to talk about it like it's already happened. Well, we
Mhm.
have to talk about it like it's May. So we have to talk about what happened in between.
Right?
So
My
we're
book
doing
is
it
out.
live. Your
So
book
it
is
is.
out. Unless it's not.
If it's not out by May, I will be very upset. I will no, I'm Scorpio type A enough. If it's May, it's out. It's there.
Yes. Well, awesome, Sierra. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to talk to you this morning.